It is the compositing window manager that everybody loves to love. You are watching the Compiz Reloaded Utilities Tour right now on Spatry's Cup of Linux. All right, we are now at the Utilities Tour. We're almost finished with this series. Yay! I never thought I'd make it this far, but we did. We are using Compiz Reloaded 0.8.12. And, of course, if you click the link in the description, it'll take you to my website, which gives you the show notes for this, where I have a video overview, all the video listings in this series, and a bunch of other goodies for you to check out. I highly recommend that you click the link. Now, there were a few things in the last episode that I ran into some problems with, and so I wanted to take the time to bring these up before going to our overview today. Okay, something that xRevon pointed out to me was that the ADD dialog affects pop-up windows, like the About software and that sort of thing. And it can also affect like installation dialog. So basically what it does is, and you saw a demonstration of this before with the ADD helper add-on, where it basically just darkens all the windows except for the one window that basically it's telling you to basically read. So I figured I wouldn't really go through the hassle of setting all of that up. And xRevon86 was also able to duplicate the issues that I experienced with the Elements section, where we were trying to enable the Autumn and some of the other effects, and it wasn't working right. So I'm sure there'll be some fixes for that coming up. And then additionally, Shadow Kyogre. She uses the name Your Local Psychopath on here. She is also a developer. And she wanted to mention something to the effect of using the screenshot utility. And I don't have any free and open source software that I use for editing my images, so it's really hard for me to make the demonstration, other than to just mention that the application launched from within Compiz will launch to edit the screenshot that it actually takes. So you're going to need the GIMP, MyPaint, or something like that working. And personally, I like my XFCE4 screen shooter, so I'd much rather use that, and I already have a keyboard command put in place for that. Whereas with this, you don't even have to have any screenshot application according to what Powell is saying. You can leave the field blank. You just drag the mouse and then with the key shortcut and it takes the screenshot for you. But as stated, most of the time I'm taking a screenshot. I want to upload that image to Imager because I'm getting support for something and I'm basically giving a screenshot. So rather than opening up an image directly, I'd much rather have the XFCE4 screen shooter taking that screenshot, because then I have the option of either saving it to the hard drive for editing later, or I can upload that to Imager so that I can show this image and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to bring those up. Very proactive team that Compiz Reloaded has, thanks to Soro, Shadow Kyogre, and xRevon86 for getting in contact with me. You guys are the best, and you know it. All right, and now we are on to the utility tour. And unfortunately, kids, this one is not going to be as exciting as other episodes that we've had. But these are important tools to have in their own right. The first place in our tour, by enabling the crash handler, basically you can define where to have the crash dump. And basically it's going to give you a text file that it will have a printout giving you some information on why Compiz crashed, and then you can also put in a window manager command line to tell it to set another window manager, such as xfwm4 -- replace. You have a command like this, you enable that, and then it will run xfwm4 -- replace. And then you can define any directory that you want for the crash dump. /temp is fine, but if you'd much rather have this in maybe in your home directory, you could do that. So I could actually put that in my home archive /temp folder. All right, and I could go with that. And then that way, if it crashes, I know where that file is going to be, and I can use that information to give to the developers in the event something crashes, and, having that report will enable somebody to provide support. So it's very handy to have this. The next item in our tour is enable DBus or a DBus control backend. And this only gives you an option to either enable it or disable it. But what does this do? Well, if you have DBus for issuing notifications, and notifications would appear in the upper corner or lower corner of your screen near your tray. This would enable that through DBus. So basically, it just works to the DBus messaging service. And my cheat sheet here says the DBus plugin provides a means of interacting with Compiz through the DBus message passing interface. These interactions include the ability to list the options offered by any enabled plugin, get the correct values of and set new values for those options, and trigger actions. Now, actually, I have notifications set off on my system, but if you're using Compiz as a standalone and you want to have message notifications in your tray area, you'll want to have this one enabled for sure. And that's probably why this setting is enabled here, because actually these settings that I have here are from the back in the days when I was running Compiz as a standalone window manager. So a lot of these settings just followed along. Okay, the next item is the error notifications, okay? And basically, this just displays errors and other messages using libnotify that I just talked about. So you would want to enable this, and you would also want DBus enabled or glib enabled to be able to get those messages, and I'll talk about glib in a moment here. So for the notifications, the hiding timeout and the error, those are the only options that you have. And then let me pull up my cheat sheet on glib. Glib provides the core application building blocks for libraries and applications written in C. It provides the core object system used in GNOME, Mate in our case, the main loop implementation and a large set of utility functions for strings and common data structures. Okay, so basically this only gives you an option to enable that or disable that. So if you're using Mate, you're probably going to want to have this one enabled, and I think this would also, I think you want to have that enabled as well for XFCE. Okay, and then of course another notification plugin is available here, and so by enabling that, you can that'll talk to some of your notification services to get those things by the tray. Personally, I hate them, don't want it, don't need it, and I have those disabled. Okay, and then the next item is mouse position polling. Now, this is handy for things like when you're zooming your screen and stuff like that, and you noticed before that the mouse is following, and this is where you would set the mouse poll interval, okay? And very handy if you're using something like this, and, you've got the box following the mouse as well. Basically, it's using that feature, and especially handy when you're using that in full screen mode as well. The next item that we have, this item can be either enabled or disabled. Basically, what RegX Matching does, it enables you to have window matching rules being followed. And I am assuming this is through other options that we have previously set through the Compiz config settings manager, such as window translucency, you know, whether they're opaque or not, and that sort of thing. Basically, it's a set of rules here. According to the original Compiz webpage, basically it's describing this. Would you like to have certain types of windows, such as menus and console windows, to be translucent? Do you want your system monitoring program or IM contact list to be visible on all desktops by default? Does it bother you when a new browser window opens and it's too tiny or too large? Well, you can set rules that tell Windows to be translucent, sticky, stay on top, a certain size, and so on. So basically, that's what that function is basically offering to us. Okay, the next item that we have is Resize Info. Let's go ahead and enable this thing, and we'll take a look at what this does. You can see now, as I'm resizing the window here, it's giving us some information, and we can actually change this setting if we want to. We can change the font and the different colors that this has. Really not too hot on using something like this, but for some of you that may be pretty cool. If you have exacting window dimensions and that sort of thing that you want to have, especially if you're tiling windows, this could be a handy little utility. Alright, the next item in our listing is the Scale add-ons. And basically, this is just some additional tools for the Scale plugin if you have that enabled. And you can define additional things that you can do with this. And for instance, you can define additional keys for closing windows, pulling windows, or zooming windows. You can also define appearance settings. Now, obviously, I don't have any tiles on my windows because I don't have any borders, but you can define window highlights, window titles, and additional behaviors with this plugin. It appears the Scale plugin is very popular because the next item in our tour is the Scale Window Title Filter. Okay, and by enabling this, you can change the filter type's timeout, whether it's case insensitive or not, show filter text, and you can also define its appearance. The next item on our tour is session management. Gosh, I hate this one, but it's very useful for a number of people. I'm not going to set this one up because, gosh, the last time I set this up, it was a pain in the neck trying to prevent this, because basically what the session management tool allows you to do is, when you log into your system, you can have it automatically have your web browser open, maybe any applications and that sort of thing, and basically using session management will enable you to save a Windows session and then have that session available to you every time you log in. Well, that's what this does. So it's very useful for some people, and it's great if you're going to be using Compiz as a standalone window manager. So you can get this to talk to your session manager of whichever desktop you're using, be it XFCE, if you're using, Mate, GNOME 2, or any other desktops that provide session management. This will allow you to interface with that and then be able to launch all of those applications. So this would be handy for some people. Okay, the next stop on our tour is throWindows. And basically with this one, when enabled, you can actually throw windows and they'll actually have a little velocity when you release them. You can define how much velocity in the XY scale, friction content, and constraints. Let me show this to you. So you can just throw a window off the screen. Let's make a new window. Yeah, so you can basically, throw windows and they'll have a little velocity, and depending on how hard you throw them, you can literally throw them off screen. There. This time it decided to, tilt her to the other window and that sort of thing. That's kind of weird. Don't know if I really like that one, though. But, yeah, have fun with it. The next item is title bar info. Okay, and this just shows additional information in your window title bar if you had title bars. I don't, but you can have it show remote machine name and show root. This one is the user space file system. Okay, and basically with this one, and let me pull up my cheat sheet here. I couldn't get any information on the official Compiz pages. But basically what it does is it just maps Compiz options to a file system using a fuse mount. And what that is, I really don't have a clue. And the person who gave that explanation, I think it was on it was on one of those Ask Ubuntu websites. Somebody had mentioned that that's just one of those old things in Compiz that's just been hanging around with every release and never gets dropped. I don't know. But at any rate, not sure what this would be used for, or how this would be useful, but it's there. The next item on the tour is video playback. And with video playback here, it only gives you one option, aside from enabling or disabling it, is you can use the YV12 color space. And basically what this allows you to do is, so we've got the cylinder thing going on. You're noticing it allows video playback while you're doing 3D effects. And basically that's what that is for. Much like the other options we talked about previously with image loading, such as JPEG, text, PNG, and SVG. Well, you also have the ability for displaying video, and that is what that one does. The next spot in our tour takes us to the wallpaper section, and here you can define individual wallpapers for each desktop. Now, previously in the old days of using Compiz as a standalone window manager, you would use a program such as Nitrogen to display your desktop wallpapers. Well, this will handle that for you if you have this option enabled, and you can define which images, and you can just define the images, its position. So you got some options like scale and crop, scaled center tile, that sort of thing. Okay, you can define whether it's a solid fill, and you can also define gradients with it as well. And finally, our tour ends on workarounds. This is very handy if you're running into a few little issues with Compiz on your system. And these may actually help some things out. You have legacy full screen support that you can set for this if you want it. Having problems with Firefox menus, this may fix it. OpenOffice.org menu fixes. Notification daemon fixes. Java window fixes. Java taskbar fixes. Qt window fixes. And a bunch of other things. There's also FireGL specific or FGLRX. So if you got screen tearing and that sort of thing, try and enable this. This should fix it. I haven't noticed any tearing or anything because I've handled this over on the driver level for my Catalyst from the Catalyst Control Center. I think I just have this enabled because this is just an old setting from way back in the days of when I was using Arch. And believe it or not, these settings have actually followed me for years. I mean, I've actually kept these settings even from the days I was using Arch Linux and I was using Compiz as a standalone. That's why some of the settings that I have here, I just left them there and I haven't changed them because, well, they're not hurting nothing. So pretty much, that's why I have some of the settings the way they are. All right, well, that is all I have on the utility section of the Compiz Reloaded tour here. And I know and understand that this section is a little less exciting, and I kind of knew that from the get-go. We were going to have portions of the series. Yeah. I'm sure half of you fell asleep. I know I know my eyelids are feeling heavy after doing this one too. But the good news is we will cover window management next, And this is what I was talking about earlier. You'll see that we had to enable the scale plugin in order to, talk about in utilities the scale add-ons and the scale window title filter. And I just basically talked about them, didn't even really do any demonstrations on them as such. But I would like to make this as a feature request that the Compiz Reloaded developers consider maybe grouping stuff like this together. Okay, so you got the scale utility, and maybe, group these with it. Just like in the effects section. Maybe you got the animation section, but maybe group all of these together into one. I think doing something like this, maybe cleaning out the user interface here a little bit, may make things a little bit less confusing, and so it's just a suggestion that the team consider the possibility of doing that. And if you guys think that's a sound idea, please comment in the space below. I do know the developers are watching the videos and that sort of thing, and I'm sure they are looking at the comments that people are making. So in the next tour, which will end out the series, is window management. We're going to go through all of these, and I'll try my best to show all of the different things that you can do here. This will probably be another one that really isn't all that exciting, but the window management features can bring things to the table that your existing, session may not provide, or may not provide in a way that you're satisfied with. Such as, for instance, I'm using the shift switcher here. And I really like that one, and I like that switcher a lot better than the one that comes with XFCE. But, you have several different switchers and a lot of really cool things to choose from here. So, it'll be well worth having a look at. And then once we finish this series, I'll go ahead and reinstall Emerald, and I'll give you guys a tour of that as well. So, until then, peace out.